What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back. You see the name of the title. We are ranking MLB shortstops today. Always wanted to be a shortstop when I was a kid. Was never going to happen. I got about the same agility as like Rowdy Tellez or someone like Dan Vogelback, maybe. Yeah, I was a first baseman. But I always loved shortstop, man. It was the coolest position growing up. You had A-Rod, Jeter, back when they were on different teams. A-Rod should have been the shortstop for the Yankees when he came over. Not a hot take at all, just a fact. But even nowadays, shortstop is one of the deepest positions in baseball. There was about 7 to 8 guys. I was like, man, he's out of the top 5. And some guys were in the top 5 just a few years ago. Guys like Trey Turner. Guys like that were in the top 5 shortstops easily a few seasons ago. But there's so many young shortstops coming up that it's becoming such a deep position, and it's kind of hard to rank, to be honest. As per usual, I have some honorable mentions I'd like to throw out there. Willy Adames is a guy I really thought about going into the 5 spot. He's a really good shortstop, don't get me wrong. I just don't think he has the talent as the top 5 guys. Another shout out to Elly De La Cruz. Ooh, somebody might not like that one down below. I understand it. It's just a guy who makes a lot of errors at short. He still can play his position well, don't get me wrong, but the errors are definitely factored in there. The strikeouts are definitely factored in there. He's an electric player. I just don't think he's as good as the other guys above him. And then, like I mentioned before, somebody like Trey Turner got left off the list, and I was like, wow, that feels weird, man. Trey Turner was like one of the best players in the game just a few short seasons ago. But like I said, the young talent that's come up recently at shortstop is so ridiculous. I'm sorry, Trey and Ellie and all them guys, you kind of got left off. I also thought about Carlos Correa. Injuries. That's all I have to say is injuries. I don't know. His foot, plantar fasciitis, that's scary. That doesn't go away. That took away Albert Pujols' back end of his prime, basically. Plantar fasciitis damn near ended Albert's career, right? And Carlos Correa plays a position that takes more athleticism than first base does. So just not being available definitely hurt his rating as well. I really want to fit Carlos Correa in here, but truth be told, it really was just his health that left him off this list. We're going to start at 5 and go to 1 like normal. Speaking of health, at number 5, I have Corey Seager of the Texas Rangers. This is what I mean when I say shortstop is such an unfair position to rank because of how deep it is. Corey Seager is a guy who could very well make a case for maybe the best shortstop in baseball when he is healthy. This guy hits baseballs hard. However, unfortunately, it doesn't seem he will be able to stay healthy. Even his 2023 season, where he finished second in MVP. Unfortunately for Corey Seager, it seems as though that it's a common theme in his career for him to get healthy, so I don't want to put too much into it. It's really unfortunate because when he is on the field, Corey Seager is one of the most electric players in baseball, period. He had a down 2024 season, which includes an 865 OPS, 30 homers, 6 outs above average defensively. That's a down year, are you kidding me? And that was a worse year than his 2023. That just goes to show you how nuts he was in 2023. 30 homers, 21 doubles, 53 walks to only 96 strikeouts isn't a bad ratio at all, and only 74 RBIs. That's really low, considering in 2023, he had 96 RBIs, 33 home runs, but he did have 42 doubles. So while he wasn't as dominant as he was in 2023, remember, he was a 7-WAR player. In 2024, he only posted 5. Oh no, a 5-WAR shortstop. 145 OPS plus. Simply put, one of the best hitters in the game. He's in the 72nd percentile in both K rate and walk rate balance. While his arm isn't the strongest defensively, he still makes all the plays necessary to be considered a pretty good fielder. So I have no qualms with putting him at number 5. He's actually a pretty decent fielder. Seager is also in the 94th percentile or better in hard hit rate, barrel rate, expected slugging, expected batting average, xWOBA. Corey Seager's just awesome, man. I don't have to really explain this rankings. Obviously, you want him to go back to 2023, Corey Seager, but the rest of the Rangers lineup was just kind of pretty bad last year. So even though Corey Seager had a 145 OPS plus, it was a down year. But I think it also has to do with guys like Adolis Garcia kind of falling off, and guys like Leody Taveras and other Josh Young didn't play very much. I mean, they were just a down year as a team. So the whole team had a down year, as did Corey Seager, but Seager's down year was a 145 OPS plus. If you're telling me a down year is a 145 OPS plus in 5-WAR, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yeah, Corey Seager's number 5 shortstop in baseball. I don't feel bad about it. I love Elly De La Cruz, but I really just think Corey Seager is just so damn good. And mind you, he only played 123 games last year. Imagine he could really get back up and play like 151 like he did in 2022, except at the same talent level. In 2022, he did play 151 games. However, that was his down year at a 117 OPS plus. Imagine these last 2 seasons if he could pan it out over like 140 games rather than 120. I know the word imagine is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, but trust me when I say Corey Seager is one of the best shortstops in baseball. You watch him play, you see the electricity in his bat. He's won a World Series before. He's done damage on the biggest stages. He's hit in the World Series. He's hit in the CS. He's hit in the DS. He's hit all playoffs. The guy's a clutch hitter too at that. Corey Seager's just awesome. We're going to go on to the next guy. I can gush over Corey Seager every single day. At number 4, Francisco Lindor. With all due respect to Brad Pitt, Francisco Lindor is a war machine. Lindor's kind of a jack of all trades. While he's not elite at one specific thing, he does everything really well. His batting run value is in the 94th percentile, base running run values in the 89th, and fielding run values in the 96th percentile. Again, jack of all trades, basically in the 90th percentile or better in every run value. Great fielding, great base running, great hitting. Yeah, he belongs in the top 4. While Lindor's hitting ceiling isn't as high as a Corey Seager, like I said, Seager's down here. He just put up a 145 OPS plus. In Francisco Lindor's best season as a Met, which was this year, he had a 138 OPS plus. So while he's not a better hitter than Corey Seager, he's a better defender and a better base runner, which truly gives him an edge here. And you got to remember, guys, I got to nitpick. The top 5 for shortstops is so stacked that I'm doing small differentiators. Francisco Lindor also just posted the highest barrel rate of his career, highest expected slugging of his career, and the highest hard hit percentage of his career. The guy just set career highs at 30 years old. He's clutch. He did it on big stages. He hit in the playoffs. He had that, what was it, the Grand Slam. I mean, the guy's Captain Clutch. He's there when you need him. You always think back to Lindor with a drive. Yeah, you know that call. I hate that call. And he's only going into his age 31 season. I don't expect any regression right now, especially with how good he was in 2024. He had basically a 7-WAR season, which is just insane. And to boot, I think the Mets lineup is just getting better. They brought in Juan freaking Soto, for Christ's sake. God forbid they bring back a guy like Pete Alonso. Now you have an even more fearsome lineup in front of you if you're a pitcher. Francisco Lindor spearheads that team. It is his team, even though Juan Soto joined it. That is Francisco Lindor's team. He's the leader of the clubhouse, an incredible leader, and overall a really clutch hitter, quality hitter, and a great fielder on top of that, good base runner. He does everything well. Francisco Lindor at 4, and even that feels bad because he could be top 3, but the top 3 is just ridiculous, man. Keep that in mind when I say who number 3 is. Just to kind of round out my point with Lindor, he's in the 95th percentile for xWOBA, 93rd percentile for expected batting average, 95th percentile for expected slugging. Sure, he doesn't hit the ball the hardest in the league, but his barrel rate's in the 90th percentile. I mean, he squares up the ball in the 81st percentile. His fielding range, or OAA, is in the 99th percentile. That is just ridiculous. Sure, his arm isn't the best, which is why I think him and Pete Alonso is a perfect pairing, because Alonso is a Hoover vacuum for scoops out there. And despite only being in the 58th percentile for sprint speed, once again, 3 base running value. Not the quickest guy, but a very smart base runner. He also stole 29 bases in 2024. I mean, he almost posted 30-30 as a shortstop. But oh yeah, he did that in 2023. So is it even special? Yeah, it actually is. It's still really cool. Despite the bases being bigger and stolen bases being more watered down, things like 30-30, 40-40 still deserve to be celebrated. And so does Francisco Lindor. He's an incredible player. We'll move on to the next one. At number 3, Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers. On any list, it feels really weird putting Mookie Betts at 3rd, but after the Gavin Lux trade, it's assumed by Fangraphs, as well as most people, that Mookie Betts will probably be the full-time shortstop for the Dodgers in 2025. While I'm not the biggest fan of Mookie Betts playing full-time shortstop, he makes it work because of how much of an athlete he is. Mookie's a one-of-a-kind hitter where his bat speed isn't the quickest. It's actually really slow. However, Mookie makes such quality contact that it really doesn't even matter how fast he swings the bat. Also, his swing decisions are some of the best, if not the best, in baseball. 98th percentile in K rate, 94th percentile in whiff rate, 93rd percentile in chase rate, 92nd percentile in walk rate. The swing decisions are some of the best in baseball. Mookie Betts might actually have a case to have like one of the best eyes, hand-eye coordination in baseball, right up there with the Juan Sotos and his teammate Freddie Freeman. Oh, and his other teammate Shohei Ohtani. And just think, this guy was an outfielder for multiple seasons of his career, including last year where he played a good chunk of innings out in the outfield. I'm pretty sure it was over 300. And then he also played about 500 in the infield as well. I've never seen a player like this where he gets moved to every position. He does pretty well at every position, and on top of that, he hits no matter where he plays. But the reason why I said I really don't like him going to shortstop shortstop full-time is because his range isn't the greatest and his arm strength isn't the best. His OAA wasn't particularly anything to write home about. But like I also said, he did split time between shortstop, second base, and right field last year. So I really have no clue how it's going to work out as a full-time shortstop. I honestly debated putting him at 4 or maybe even 5 on this list because, well, his defense at shortstop isn't going to be the greatest. And like I said, man, small little things can differentiate you on this list because, man, is this a tight list. But simply put, Mookie Betts is one of the best pure hitters in the sport. It was such a tough call, but I realized that he's Mookie freaking Betts. Technically, also, Mookie did have a down year in 2024, which entailed only an 863 OPS, which was good enough for 5th in the National League. He also had a 491 slugging, 8th in the National League, and a 372 on-base percentage, which was 7th in the National League. That's a down year. But I also think his down year could be credited to him just bouncing between so many positions and still putting up an 863 OPS despite playing 3 different positions for over 100 innings. I think that moving back and forth and not knowing where he was playing the next day kind of might have thrown him off a little bit. And so I see him moving back to full-time shortstop like Fangraphs has projected. And with him sticking in one position ideally for the full season, I think that'll probably help him a little bit. But the one thing I do know is that full-time shortstop Mookie Betts is not as good as the other 2 shortstops ahead of him. At number 2, this might come as a surprise to some people. I have Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals. Remember, we're projecting for the end of the 2025 season, not the beginning. In 2024, Bobby Witt Jr. was a top 5 player in the sport, full stop. He might have actually had a case to be top 3 in the sport, full stop. I'm a huge Bobby Witt Jr. fan and saw how awesome he was last season. That's part of my rationale as to why I think he should be number 2. I know that really doesn't make any sense to you, but he had a 171 OPS plus and 9.5 WAR. That feels almost irreplicable. Not because he doesn't have the talent, to be honest, it's more because the Royals really didn't do anything to help him. Witt had 5 hits in 26 at-bats in the playoffs last season, and I don't think it was his fault. I think it was mostly because of the fact that the team had no protection around him besides like Tommy Pham and of course Salvi. But Salvi's aging, and unless the pass squatch were to fully step up next season, he's probably still their second best hitter, and I don't really trust that, to be honest. If we want to speak on 2024 really quick, he was in the 98th percentile for xWOBA, 99th for expected batting average, 98th for expected slugging. Oh yeah, he's also in the 100th percentile for sprint speed. There's almost nobody faster than him, if anybody at all. OAA, 99th percentile, 78th percentile for arm strength. He's kind of a do-it-all type of guy, and he does it all at such an elite level. OPS at 977, slugging at 588, on-base percentage of 390. Give me a damn break. The man put up 30 stolen bases and 32 home runs. Mind you, 32 home runs while playing most of his games at Kauffman Stadium. It's not really a hitter-friendly park. He's only 24 years old, so I still think there's time in his career for it to kind of ebb and flow, and I think this is one of those seasons where you're going to see that. People are going to expect a big amount out of Bobby Witt Jr., and I just don't know if 9.5 WAR is really something he can replicate twice in a row. If he does, I will be in here, and you can subscribe and watch all the videos until then. I will apologize to Royals fans and to Bobby Witt Jr. if he replicates last season. But I just think there's no way, bro. 9.5 WAR, it's 9.4 to be technical with you, but 9.5 WAR is just unheard of unless you're an all-time great. And while I think Witt may be on the trajectory to become an all-time great, I still think a 24-year-old has time to also struggle potentially. And like I said, with the Royals adding close to nothing, they should just re-sign Tommy Pham at this point because he was maybe their second best hitter in the playoffs. They added Jonathan India, but truth be told, that really doesn't do anything for me. That's like a league average hitter they added to the lineup. So while I don't think the Royals are going to be a bad team, I just think they didn't add enough for Witt to be able to sustain that success that he had in 2024. Because in the playoffs, teams were kind of able to pitch around him, you saw him kind of strike out more than he did in the regular season, simply because pitchers didn't have to throw to him. They weren't scared about the guy behind him or the guy in front of him, to be honest. While I really do believe Bobby Witt Jr. will still have a very elite season next year, there's just no way a 171 OPS plus and 9.5 WAR is going to happen twice in a row. And like I said, if it does, I will apologize to Royals fans. I like Bobby Witt Jr. for what he is, and realistically, I think he's going to be an all-time great if he continues on this trajectory, but realistically, 9.4 WAR is just ridiculous. Which leaves the number 1 spot to the only other guy you could probably think it is. Jacob Wilson from the Sacramento Athletics. No, I'm just kidding. It's Gunnar Henderson from the Baltimore Orioles. Not a big Gunnar Henderson guy myself. Look up what his high school was. You guys ever see that? His high school was they didn't allow, you know what, we're not going to talk about that. You can Google that in your own time. It's not a hot take to say that Bobby and Gunnar will be two of the best players in the game for the years to come. They're both two incredible players who finished top 5 in MVP last year. So one being behind the other isn't necessarily disrespect, but I know their fan bases are going to take it as such. I like the higher walk rate for Gunnar Henderson. I also like the potential of more opposite field home runs with the left field coming in at Camden Yards. If you watch my catchers video, I kind of said I expect a big jump from Adley Rutschman, and part of me seeing that was the fact that he has a guy like Gunnar Henderson with him, who is such an elite hitter. I see big things from this young Orioles lineup, and Gunnar Henderson is the head of that. Gunnar Henderson's actually younger than Bobby Witt Jr. I did not know that, to be honest, before I started doing research for this video. But we're going to read over some percentiles for Gunnar Henderson from the 2024 season. That includes the 94th percentile in xWOBA and average exit velocity, the 97th percentile in hard hit rate, the 96th percentile in bat speed, my goodness, 88th percentile in sprint speed. So while Bobby Witt Jr. might be the fastest player in baseball, Gunnar Henderson is still very fast as well. While Gunnar Henderson's OAA may not be as high as Bobby Witt Jr., he makes up for it with better arm strength. While I don't think he's a better fielder than Bobby Witt Jr., no, not at all, I still do think that he's serviceable enough to get the job done. In terms of more standard numbers, he had an 893 OPS, a 530 slugging, 364 on base, 281 average, 37 homers, 21 stolen bases, 177 hits. Gunnar's durable. In his first 2 seasons full-time at the majors, he's played 150 or more games. The last 2 seasons, he was second in plate appearances last year. You know he gets at-bats. His 7 triples was tied for 4th in the American League. 37 home runs was 6th in the American League. 893 OPS also puts him in the top 10 in the AL. Obviously, it's a race to the top between Gunnar and Bobby. Bobby's probably better if we were to rank them right now, but remember, we are predicting for the end of the season. My reasoning, like I said, is just because I think Gunnar's production is more stable with his walk rate being up. Teams aren't allowed to pitch around him because of the fact that he will just take a walk. Neither one of them's a slouch on the base path. I'd say Gunnar has more power to his game. Bobby has more average to his game. It's really a coin toss on which one you want. 159 OPS plus compared to 171 isn't that crazy of a jump. It's 12, I get it, but they're both elite hitters still. Gunnar put up 9.1 WAR to Bobby Witt Jr.'s 9.4 WAR. So again, this is a very close race for the top shortstop in the bigs. It's quite amazing to see, to be honest. These are two incredible players, and like I said, I know some fan bases aren't going to like it. Probably Royals fans, and I understand that. Like I said, I will apologize. But you want to know the only way you'll be able to see my apology? If you subscribe. Like the video, subscribe, comment, do all those things. Let me know what your order would be. Remember, we're predicting, not ranking right now. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to go catch the game. See you guys in the next one.